गए आज स्वास्थ्य का इंतजाम नहीं कर सकते, शिक्षा का इंतजाम नहीं कर सकते। 7,000 विकलांग कहाँ है पूरे जिले में?
अगर गरीब को न्याय देना अपराध है,
अब मैं चैम्बर के अध्यक्ष श्री सिंघानिया जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि वे धन्यवाद खन्ना जी, आपसे अनुरोध है कि आप अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। मैं आर्या जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि वे अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। अब मैं चैम्बर के अध्यक्ष श्री अभिषेक सिंघानिया जी से अनुरोध करूंगा कि वह अपना स्वागत भाषण देकर कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ करें।
Ladies and gentlemen, I extend a very warm welcome to all of you for this event titled Cracking the Code with Major Gaurav Arya. It is an absolute pleasure to have him here with us today. His experience, research, analysis, and in-depth knowledge could easily title him as the astrologer of global geopolitics. I have been personally following him for a number of years, and whatever his views have been stated in the past have really come true. I'm sure that the event would be extremely insightful and enlightening for all of us. Allow me to take a moment to introduce him. Major Gaurav Arya is an Indian Army veteran, public writer, and a speaker with 29 years of experience, including the Indian Army, top MNCs, media, consulting, and public speaking. Major Arya is the founder of Chanakya Forum, a digital magazine on geopolitics, national security, and foreign affairs. He is the host of immensely popular conclave, the Chanakya Dialogues. He is also a senior consulting editor, strategic affairs, at the Republic Media Network. As a public speaker, he speaks at the national and international corporate events and also institutional events. He talks about leadership, motivation, team building, strategic affairs, national security, capability building, and more. He has spoken at TEDx events multiple number of times and was invited to speak at the UK Parliament on Kashmir. He believes that the real life lessons he learned in the Indian Army are actually top management lessons, but they need to be interpreted correctly to become relevant to the corporate world. Major Arya is not just a name. He embodies a wealth of experience, expertise, and dedication to serving our nation. His journey is one of bravery and unwavering commitment to defend our nation's sovereignty. Today, we have the privilege of delving into the intricacies of the Indian geopolitics with him, and I have no doubt that his expertise and insights will provide us with valuable perspective and food for thought. Once again, I extend a heartfelt welcome to him, and thank you all for joining us on this promising to be a thought-provoking and enriching discussion. I will now request Mr. Rajiv Malhotra to please come on the stage and moderate the talk. Thank you.
Sorry. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this excellent, thought-provoking discussion. First of all, I'm grateful to Abhishek ji on two counts, of course, putting this topic, putting such a speaker, and giving me an opportunity to be a moderator. Moderator means, imagine when Virat Kohli is batting and a 12th man is there for a moderation, so it makes a lot of difference. So, of course, as far as the topic is concerned, देखिए, एज अ मॉडरेटर एक विषय है, उसका विषय का विश्लेषण करना होता है और विशेषज्ञ हमारे पास है. तो विषय एक ऐसा महत्वपूर्ण विषय है जो कि ऑफ कोर्स अंडरस्टैंडिंग द जियो पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ कोर्स ऑफ द वर्ल्ड एंड ऑफ कोर्स द इंडियन नेशन. सो उस विषय में दी जियो पॉलिटिक्स अगर हम लेके चलें तो इफेक्टिवली लगता नहीं है कि जियो पॉलिटिक्स आदमी को लगता है बड़ा इंट्रिकेट, मतलब बड़ा वैसा है, बट एक्चुअली जियो पॉलिटिक्स सबको इफेक्ट करता है. जियो पॉलिटिक्स इज वन टॉपिक विच इफेक्ट्स एवरीबडी सम और द अदर. एंड व्हाट इज बेसिकली जियो पॉलिटिक्स, जिसको कहते हैं भू राजनीति, मीन्स राजनीति कनेक्टेड टू भूमि. एंड राज्य जो भी लेके चले हैं, राज्य की राजनीति क्या होगी, बेसिकली इट्स द फॉरेन, आई वुड से फॉरेन अफेयर्स रिलेटिंग टू भूगोल, as we say, geopolitics, or with relations to strategy of the army and of the relations with, again, there are so many other, basically economics also. So for that, of course, we can have no better person than Gaurav, जो आर्यवर्त को गौरवेंद्र कर रहे हैं अपने, गौरव आर्या जी. Of course, he's a person by a name himself. आर्यवर्त basically एक श्रेष्ठ होता है और गौरव तो गौरव है ही है. We are proud to have him here. And for that, of course, we could have, जैसे कहते हैं ना, और गौरव जी का देखिए आप, जैसे अभिषेक जी ने बताया, he started from a career in the army, excelled there, came to the corporate world, excelled there, giving lectures, excelling there, and ultimately कहते हैं जो हवाओं से होड़ लेते हैं वो हवाओं का रुख मोड़ देते हैं, और जिन होती है जिन्हें मंजिलों की चाह वो सारी बाधाएं तोड़ देते हैं. So I think that's what Gaurav ji has been and is there. And see, imagine what he has created starting from the basic army to coming here, making understand geopolitics, understanding everybody, because the Chanakya Forum, as we all are aware, we all know Chanakya Forum, and those who have been following Chanakya Forum, I am fully aware that nobody can leave that forum once he goes into that forum. And the actual analysis, जो कहते हैं ना, जैसे वो आप कभी भी वो देखिए, जैसे अनियन की परत के परत निकाल के जो जिस तरह से आप एक एक परत निकाल के डिसाइफर करते हैं, so that is phenomenal. And I'm really, we are all your fans, and of course those who are not aware of the Chanakya Forum, I would request them to go to the forum and see of course what is there. Now sir, I won't waste time, because of course, well, first of all I would like to just brief you that we have summarized certain questions. कुछ questions हमने summarize कर लिए हैं. वो questions हम लोग गौरव जी के सामने रखेंगे जो हम लोगों को मिले लोगों से, और अभिषेक जी ने जो हम लोग साथ बनाए वो हम लोग समराइज कर लिए हैं. वो पहले हम लोग क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, फिर अगर समय मिलेगा तो वी कैन हैव एन ओपन फोरम, और ओपन फोरम से अगर क्वेश्चंस आ सकते हैं तो वील गो अकॉर्डिंग टू दैट. सो समरी ऑफ कोर्स स्टार्टिंग विथ द योरसेल्फ. सी व्हाई, वेयर, हाउ एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द चाणक्य फोरम.
So first of all, thank you very much for the lovely introduction, and Abhishek, thank you very much for calling me here. This entire journey of Chanakya Forum started during the initial face-off of the Chinese army and the Indian army along the line of actual control. आपको पता ही है, line of actual control तकरीबन 3,500 किलोमीटर से ज़्यादा लंबी एक de facto border है, और उस de facto border के उस तरफ चीन है, या फिर आप तिब्बत कह सकते हैं, जो कि एक ऑक्यूपाइड टेरिटरी है, और इस तरफ भारत है. और उस समय काफ़ी र्यूमर्स फैले थे कि चाइना ने 1500 किलोमीटर, 2000 किलोमीटर, 5000 किलोमीटर भारत की भूमि घेर ली है. और अनफॉर्चुनेटली कुछ लोग, एक दो, ज़्यादा नहीं थैंकफुली, बट एक दो वेटरन्स भी थे जो ये बातें कर रहे थे इंटरनेशनल न्यूज़पेपर्स में कि इतनी भूमि घेर ली है भारत की. तो कुछ आर्टिकल्स छपे वॉशिंगटन पोस्ट में, कुछ आर्टिकल्स छपे न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में और बड़े बड़े अखबारों में। तो हमने भी कोशिश करी कि जो सच्ची बात है, जो एक्सपर्ट्स की बात है, वो सबके सामने रखी जाए। नो, एक बात का एहसास है, आई रियलाइज वन थिंग, दैट वी आर नथिंग इन फ्रंट ऑफ न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स, एब्सोल्युटली नथिंग। बट Chanakya Forum in one sentence is it is an act of defiance. It is not a geopolitical platform. It is an act of defiance. It is an act of trying to protect your motherland from. It's like a line of control. That is what we wanted to do, to tell the truth to people, to tell people that this is the truth about what the Chinese army is doing, to tell people the truth that this is what the Indian army is doing, and till the Indian army is there at the border, there is nothing to fear. That was the core emotion of Chanakya Forum, and then it morphed into something else also. वो बाद में फिर बढ़ता चला गया।
See, as we see geopolitics, when you talk about, I think starting from Ramcharitmanas, because that again was geopolitics, कि रामचंद्र जी ने क्यों वानर सेना और पशु सेना ली और मारी, और of course वानरों को लेके और भालुओं को लेके सेना बनाई, क्योंकि शायद उस समय उतनी संख्या में वो थे, और साथ में प्रॉब्ली रावण के आदमियों को इन जानवरों से युद्ध करना नहीं आता था। जानवर तो कहना गलत होगा, मतलब पशुओं से युद्ध करना नहीं आता था। तो एक जियो पॉलिटिक्स था। दूसरा जियो पॉलिटिक्स शायद ब्रिटेन के साथ भी देखा जाता। तो जब ब्रिटिश सरकार आई इस देश में 1757 ऑड, so we had 24% of the world GDP, and when the Britishers left us, we were having a 2% of the world GDP, which is 20 years. So probably that was also a geopolitical game as far as the Britishers concerned. Now, after all those things and all those which is happening, now, as of now, of course, we are growing. We are on planet to become a developed nation. हो सकता है, of course, और जैसा चल रहा है. तो how do you perceive the position of India? Of course, I know it can be a very long answer, but see the position of India geopolitically and how, way forward, how do you place this country, of course? And being UP is the largest state, so we are, of course, more troubled about it and thoughtful about it.
There was a report by Bloomberg recently, as recent as 2 months back, in which Bloomberg said that UK has 75% chances of getting into recession and India has 0% chances. So out of the entire spectrum of developing and developed countries, India had the least percentage of chances of getting into recession. So that is one thing, that is the economics of it. You know, 5th largest economy, hopefully will become the 3rd largest economy. You know all of that. That is one piece. So the second piece here is also the fact that there is no country in the world today, no country, with this kind of political stability. And I'm not saying it because of an X, Y, or Z political party. That is not my intent. If you look at the United States of America, you know how fragile it is. Germany is in recession. Japan is in recession. China is ruled by a dictator, and Putin is a mixture of a dictator and he's got some serious issues, but I'm sure he's a friend of India, but he does stuff. And Trump is scary, by the way, sir.
Absolutely.
Trump is scary. Absolutely. Even his friends are more scared of him than his enemies. So Trump is scary. So all of that put together, you'll realize that if there is an island of sanity in this world today, you'll see it is India. And also what the defense minister said some time back, that we are the net security providers in the Indian Ocean region. So the Indian Navy has carried out more than 28 operations in the seas, high seas, over a period of, let us say, the past 2 months, and saved as many ships. So we are not only saving Indian ships, we are impacting global trade. I mean, because everything comes to India and everything goes from India. In fact, if you look at the India, Middle East, Europe economic corridor, which everybody is speaking about, it starts from India. India is the linchpin, so to say. It starts from India. So the world is looking at India as a place that is politically stable, that is economically growing, and India is seen as a global power. Very recently, Saudi Arabia said India should be a part of the United Nations Security Council.
It's a,
I think day before yesterday.
yeah, 2 days.
Saudi Arabia formally said India should be. So except for China, and of course Pakistan, which is inconsequential because nobody cares about Pakistan, but except for China, everybody in the world is saying that India should be part of the United Nations Security Council, and that is going to happen. It may take some time, but it's going to happen. So yes, we are very, very strongly positioned, and I personally think, I could be a bit of an optimist here, but I personally think that the target given by the Prime Minister of 2047, India becoming a developed country, I think we should make it before that, because there is immense potential, and all that you need to do is let the people run as fast as they can, and it'll happen. So I'm sure things are in place, and I'm extremely, extremely positive about the future. I was just telling Abhishek before the start of the talk, the next 5 years are going to be terrifyingly fast, the next 5 years. Absolutely.
But one, of course, the question which comes along with this, of course, part of the questions, and one thing I was just visualizing or going through the Indian budget. So why has the defense expenditure, means I'm talking about other than, of course, the salaries and pensions, why has the defense expenditure vis-a-vis the GDP, means the percentage of the GDP is going down of India? Of course, in number of terms it's going up, but as percent of GDP is going down, whereas in all other countries going up. So why are we not, you're saying about, of course, our defense corridors are going up, then why is the defense expenditure not coming as much as it should come vis-a-vis the GDP?
Okay, the correct answer to this question is that I don't know.
Okay.
But I will still say something, that I'm happy that the education budget is more than the defense budget. I was talking to a Pakistani person, and he's a senior officer, former senior officer in the Pakistan Army, and we were talking about weapon systems, and very interestingly, he said that, do you know which is our best weapon that we have? And he was asking me, and he mentioned, I think, Hath for Shaheen or some missile. And he says, which is your best weapon? He asked me, and I said, our best weapon is the IIT, And as long as we have IIT, we'll make many more Agnis. We'll make many more Prithvis. So that is one thing. And the second thing is, I don't think our defense budget is any less. What is happening with our defense budget is, every now and then, the government is spending money. There is massive capital outlay in terms of buying stuff. Only day before yesterday, 19,000 crores on 200 BrahMos missiles for the Indian Navy. And before that, they were buying planes, and they are buying ammunition, and they're just buying. I've never seen this in the Indian Army.
But of course, as far as the practical budget estimates of 2024-25 or 23-24 are lesser. And similarly, of course, education, as you rightly said, it's going up. But when you talk about Indian education vis-a-vis the percentage of GDP, again, it's not as much. It's probably 100th worldwide. If you go on the world,
Yes.
But if you see the 100, for example, 100, it'll be 100 there. Of course, we're digressing. So let's come directly to the topic, because that's basically not there. Now, of course, in the global conflicts in the span of 2 years, when we see the Ukraine war, Russian-Ukraine war, we see the Israel and Hamas problem, or when we see this Iran and, of course, this Iran, Pakistan, and all this, how these coming in. So where do you feel? In fact, probably a lot of problems are arising in this part of the world. So what do you feel will be the outcome of this, and how long do you think they're going to be aggravated? Because everybody is becoming sort of panicky about it.
First of all, sir, with your permission, I'd like to go back to the previous question. You said that if you say the top 100 about education and all that.
Percentage of GDP.
Yeah. The issue is that there is no other country in the world which is so mind-bogglingly complex like India. So it's not easy for India. This is perhaps the most difficult country in the world to rule. China could have been another country, very difficult to rule, but the thing with China is that, all Xi Jinping has to say is go to sleep, and everybody goes to sleep at 10 o'clock. That's how it works in China. If Putin does not like you, you go to Siberia. You can't do that in India. And to manage a country of 140 crore people is extremely, extremely complex. And here you have to take opinions. That is, I'm not saying that is a problem. Now, you mentioned about conflicts. You mentioned about Israel and Hamas and Russia and Ukraine. So there are two things which are very different amongst these wars. The first thing is that if you see the Russia-Ukraine war, it has not spread. So there are two kinds of escalations in conflict. One is vertical escalation. Vertical escalation is when you start firing weapons of a higher caliber. So let's say you're firing a 9mm, then you fire a 5.56, then you fire a 7.62. It keeps on going up and up and up and up. You start using more and more dangerous weapons. That is called vertical escalation. The second term that I would like to bring to your notice here is horizontal escalation. Horizontal escalation is when there is geographical spread of the war. You have seen a lot of vertical escalation in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and you have seen a lot of horizontal escalation in the Hamas-Israel conflict.
Yes, absolutely. Correct.
So the first conflict, that is Russia and Ukraine, first I'm saying in terms of calendar years, the first conflict is a highly contained conflict. But what has happened is that 6 months back, Russia had 17.5% of Ukraine's landmass. Today they have nearly 25% of Ukraine's landmass. And this is why I often tell people, and when I go to these embassy meetings sometimes and I meet diplomats, they don't like what I say. But I think we are treading the right path because of one simple thing, that we have decided not to trust the West so much.
True.
Except for France. You know what has happened with Zelensky, sir? Zelensky को एक बात बोली कि चढ़ जा बेटा सूली पे, भला करेंगे राम. उसको चढ़ा दिया. Zelensky got crazy. He said, I'll do this, I'll do that, don't worry. अब मैं आ रहा हूँ and I'll sort out Putin. What has happened? He's lost 1/4 of his country. And another very interesting thing happened, let me tell you, with regard to this entire war that happened. The interesting thing that happened was that Boris Johnson, when he was the Prime Minister of UK, Boris Johnson, Erdogan and other people, they wanted a peace deal. They said, लड़ाई वड़ाई बंद करो यार, problem है इसमें. They wanted a peace deal. उन्होंने बोला कि peace deal होनी चाहिए. And they sent the peace deal to Putin. Putin took a look at it. They sent the peace deal to Zelensky. He took a look at it. And they said, okay, let's talk. Both said, we are open to meeting each other. Let's end the war. You know who did not want the war to end? It was Boris Johnson of UK. Johnson said, this is nonsense. How can you stop the war? आपको पैसा चाहिए, पैसा लो, मैं पैसा देता हूँ आपको, आप लड़ते रहो. So Zelensky was fighting, and then Zelensky, over a period of a year into the war, realized that, war is good. So there is a saying, okay, which I have made up right now, all right? So there is no saying, I'm just making this up. So Zelensky thought that patriotism is good, but patriotism plus 10% is still better. So what Zelensky did was he started stealing money. And Zelensky has pilfered billions of dollars of funds that were given originally to fight the war. So now, earlier it was Boris Johnson who wanted the war to continue and Zelensky who wanted the war to stop. Today it is Rishi Sunak who wants the war to stop and it is Zelensky who wants the war to go on. This is what is happening. As far as the Israel-Hamas issue is concerned, sir, the world is telling Netanyahu to stop. He's not going to stop. And there are two reasons for it. One is that the Israelis have been caught unawares. And it looks very bad. Because the Israelis, their security, that was world famous, obviously. And I spoke to a very senior Israeli person 6 months back, and he told me one thing. He says, our entire security depends upon one thing. I said, so what is that? He says, intelligence, fantastic intelligence, great special forces, this, that, satellites, everything. That is all okay. But our intelligence and our security depend on one thing, that everybody in the Middle East realizes that Israel is the mad guy in the room. He actually told me, he says, we have to behave like madmen. So every time our response is disproportionate. So no. So what is happening with Israel and Hamas right now is, Israel is saying we must crush Hamas. And I'll tell you why. Because nobody's broaching that topic that needs to be broached and that needs to be spoken about. And that topic is, let us say the war stops. And let us say that there is a two-state solution. Philistine अपनी जगह बन गया, Israel अपनी जगह बन गया, बीच में एक border है. Done. This happened in 2005 also. ये 2005 में भी हुआ था. Where Israel withdrew absolutely unilaterally from Gaza. And they said, ये आपका West Bank है, ये आपका Gaza है, ये आप सब ले लो, हम अपने वापस जा रहे हैं. Israel said that. and then again Hamas attacked. So who's giving the guarantee that Israel will not be attacked? Which is why all the Israelis today are saying that, let's be absolutely clear, है ना, जब तक Hamas खत्म नहीं होगा ये लड़ाई चलती रहेगी. They have a team called Kidon. I don't know, Abhishek, if you've heard of Kidon. Yeah? They've sent Kidon, and Kidon operatives, I believe, are in Qatar. For those of you who do not know, Kidon is the special assassination unit of the Mossad. So the Mossad has actually sent its operatives to Qatar and Turkey to eliminate Hamas. So this is what is happening on a wide scale. And Netanyahu is not going to stop, because even America is saying that, you know, they'll say, America will say, Netanyahu, you've got to stop, you've got to stop. And then, relax. Because America is not saying stop hard enough. अच्छा, America stop भी कह रहा है और उसको हथियार भी दे रहा है. America is saying stop and giving him billions of dollars. I think very recently they signed off on something like $18 billion for something. 16 or $18 billion for
The war.
yeah, and they've given them Patriot missiles and they've given them javelins and I don't know what else. This is not the way to say stop.
The same is happening for Ukraine also, because they're supplying arms and everything to Ukraine, and the war is continuing.
यूक्रेन का मामला थोड़ा सा अलग है सर. यूक्रेन का इशू ये है कि much of Washington even today lives in the Cold War mindset. For them, Russia is the enemy. And as far as Putin is concerned, Putin is very sure today the war stops, he's going to attack some other country in 2-3 years. उसको पुराना USSR बनाना है. He's set his aims on that. And the foreign minister of Hungary, I forget that person's name, the foreign minister of Hungary made a statement day before yesterday. He's saying this is what Putin wants. He wants the former USSR back, and he's saying that includes Poland and Finland. Just imagine. That includes everything. But say if you look at the Chinese are doing pretty much the same thing.
Absolutely.
Chinese have a physical border with 12 countries. They have a physical border with 12 countries, and they have a border dispute with 23 countries. हाँ, तो चाइना का किसी के साथ बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट हो, ये जरूरी नहीं है कि उनका बॉर्डर उससे मिलता हो. उनका ऐसी बॉर्डर डिस्प्यूट हो सकता है. Even one country removed, they have a border dispute with one country removed, तुम्हारे साथ भी है. And they genuinely believe that they should be part of China. They very recently claimed Vladivostok, which is a port in Russia. No, they said कि ये भी Chinese है. So that is what is happening, sir.
But as far as war is concerned, because ultimately for the Red Sea or the Ukraine war, if it's affecting the recession of Germany, because the energy prices have gone up and all those things. So the recession in Europe is of course impacting the Indian businesses, as well as the Red Sea crisis again is impacting the Indian businesses. So what do you perceive as an astrologer, how long is it going to continue, or do you think it's going to have a early end, or it's going to last long?
Okay, I was one of the few people who said that Russia will not invade Ukraine. I said it on television. Russia करेगा ही नहीं invade Ukraine को. Russia ने कर दिया. फिर मैंने बोला ये हफ्ते 10 दिन में war खत्म हो जाएगा. अभी second anniversary celebrate कर रही है. So in war, never guess, because you know, things, unless, see, actually people don't want this war to stop.
Yeah, okay.
People must want a war to stop. Nobody wants the war to stop. Zelensky does not want the war to stop, number one. Putin does not want the war to stop, number two. And the people who are financing Zelensky don't want the war to stop. How will the war stop? Acha. Second thing, everybody is saying Palestine, 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 we support Palestine. All the countries are saying, OIC countries are saying we support Palestine. But nobody is willing to take in even one single Palestinian refugee. So, they've had bad experiences with Palestinians in the past. So nobody is taking refugees. So nobody likes them either. I mean, nobody likes the Palestinians for some reason. And nobody likes the Israelis. And Israelis are not listening to anybody. And, acha, by the way, do you know how many countries have committed to actually giving $1 billion plus funds for the reconstruction of Gaza? Can you name the country that is willing to write a check of billions of dollars for reconstruction of Gaza? Any guesses?
That's a
Pakistan
bankrupt.
लेने जाएगा पैसा.
Bankrupt. That's a bankrupt
You,
country.
you'll be surprised, till now, only an official statement that has come out that is from one country, and that is Israel. हाँ, इजराइल ने बोला कि इनको साफ करके दोबारा बनाना पड़ेगा, अपने स्टाइल से हम बनाएंगे इसको. America will also give money, the world will give money, but nobody is giving money, nobody is giving anything to the Palestinians because people want this problem to go away, but people disagree with the way Israel is doing it. So people thought that initially when Israel said we'll respond, people thought airstrikes hongi, Israel will send in Sariyat Matkal. Sariyat Matkal is the famous Israeli special forces. So we'll send in the Sariyat Matkal, they will do what we know as intelligence based operations, IBOs. कुछ IBOs करेंगे, हमास को sort out करेंगे, मामला खत्म हो जाएगा. Nobody bargained for this because this is something that is continuing and people say it will keep on continuing for some time.
Okay.
Till people want this war to stop. अभी कोई नहीं चाहता लड़ाई का, अभी वो कह रहे हैं ठीक है.
चलिए.
It is the right temperature, इसको चलने दो अभी.
Yeah. Another thought which comes, or question which comes, is that now, of course, we see predominantly, actually, it was a bipolar world at one point of time. Today, we see several blocks, for example, the Russia, China, Iran, North Korea bloc, or the Quad bloc, or of course the NATO and other alliances. So, what is the impact, and where do you position India vis-a-vis all these blocks, or it will be as non-aligned as Dr. Jaishankar says? In these blocks, where do you position India as?
I'll tell you, sir, it's very interesting. India was non-aligned. Today, India is not non-aligned. You spoke about a unipolar world, and there was a bipolar world, and then a unipolar world, and today there's a multipolar world. Yeah. And there are, let us say, axis of polarity in terms of, Russia, China, Iran, and Pakistan saying, "Hum bhi hain is team mein." Nobody's talking to them, but Pakistan is getting excited, so Pakistan also. Then you have the Western Bloc. Let's call it NATO for now. For lack of better understanding, NATO. India is saying something else. India is saying that, and somebody asked Dr. Jaishankar and asked him, sir, आप इस पूरी लड़ाई में किस तरफ हैं, रशिया की, यूक्रेन? He says, मैं इंडिया की साइड में हूँ. And this is India saying that we are neither, earlier we were saying we are neutral यार. हम लोग न्यूट्रल हैं. पहले हम लोग ये बोलते थे हम लोग न्यूट्रल हैं, ना हम यूएसएसआर की साइड में, ना हम यूएसए की साइड में. आज इंडिया बोल रहा है कि तुम हमारी साइड में क्यों नहीं हो. We are also here. So, leadership of the global south.
Fantastic. Very good.
Leadership of the global south, where everybody says that India has actually taken leadership of the global south, sending vaccines to all the countries. आपके पास पैसा नहीं है, आपके पास वैक्सीन पहुंच जाएगी, आप फिक्र मत करिए. पैसा है तो दे दीजिए, नहीं है तो कोई बात नहीं. आपके यहाँ भूकंप आया है, आपके यहाँ सुनामी आया है, आपके यहाँ बाढ़ आई है, आपके यहाँ राहत सामग्री पहुंच जाएगी. It will reach you. The stuff will reach your place. And the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force and the Indian Army will get it for you. Sri Lanka is sinking, billions of dollars, no problem. Giving money to Maldives even after what the Maldives president has done. Even after that, helping them, giving them money, doing all of that. This is India saying that there is a new superpower which is coming up, which is rising. And that superpower is India. And that is the entire idea. When we say Vishwaguru, it's not as, I'm sorry I'm saying this and I'm not here to pass a political statement, but when you say Bharat Vishwaguru ban raha hai, this is not, Vishwaguru is not very innocent by the way. It is not like ki Guru giving shiksha. Guru ke haath mein danda bhi hota hai na. So, how does India ensure peace in the Indian Ocean region? हम कहते हैं we are the net security providers in the Indian Ocean region. How has India assured peace? कैसे कर रहा है? Because India has put a nuclear submarine there, India has put 5 destroyers there, and India has told the rest of the world that INS Vikrant पीछे खड़ा हुआ है. And when you terrify everybody, then there is peace. And this is what they're doing. They've put so much of weaponry there. I would just like to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that every destroyer, right? Every Indian destroyer that is there near and around the Red Sea. I'm not saying in the Red Sea, I'm saying near and around the Red Sea. Every single destroyer has got at least 16 BrahMos missiles. So वो ये गुलदस्ता तो है नहीं है. It's not like this. It's a BrahMos missile. So India has actually put that kind of firepower enough to invade a small country. There are Indian ships there. There are submarines underwater everywhere. And this is how India becomes the net security provider. And this is also Vishwaguru. The Prime Minister quoted the lines, Bhai Ben Hoy na Preet, long back. And people said that, इन्होंने कुछ बोल दिया. उन्होंने नहीं. इसमें मैं चाणक्य डायलॉग्स में बता चुका हूं पहले. इसमें दो हैं, भय प्रीत है. इसमें प्रीत हैं जयशंकर साहब और भय हैं अजीत डोभाल. तो ये जब भय और प्रीत एक साथ जाते हैं, आपने कभी फोटोग्राफ्स देखी हैं? प्राइम मिनिस्टर रहते हैं, उनके लेफ्ट में जयशंकर साहब खड़े हैं, डोभाल साहब खड़े हैं. कोई प्यार से नहीं मारता, फिर मार से मारता. उसको he has connected all the dots and he said, okay, these are two guys, they're going to speak to you. First, Dr. Jaishankar is going to speak. Okay, if you understand, it's fine. Otherwise, this gentleman will speak. And suddenly, one day, the Emir of Qatar says कि मैं तो मजाक कर रहा था. He said, ऐसी कौन सी बात है यार, सजाए मौत सुना दी, खत्म हो जाएगी. और खत्म क्या हुई, वो लोग वापस आ गए. How did this happen? This happened because, unknown to the media, the NSA made 6 trips to Qatar. Without telling anybody, एक aircraft पकड़ा, jet of the Indian Air Force, they have these grey colored jets. पकड़ा, बैठे, कतर में उतरे, शेख को हाय हेलो बोला, comes back, and after some time the sheikh says कि यार, we are great friends यार, और बताओ, मंदिर के लिए कितनी ज़मीन चाहिए? तो this is what these guys are doing. They have realized, see, I like to give an example which I will try and explain, and then we can move on to the next question. Absolutely. The hook of diplomacy here is, and I often like to quote this example, यहाँ पे hook क्या है diplomacy का, कि when the Indian Prime Minister speaks to his counterpart, friend or foe does not matter, दुश्मन हो, दोस्त, दुश्मन, that is irrelevant, कोई भी हो, the other party should realize that somewhere behind in the oceans there is INS Arihant. So when the Prime Minister of India speaks, उनके पीछे 12 लाख Indian Army खड़ी है. And you don't have to say it to anybody. आपको कहने की जरूरत नहीं है. दूसरे को ये एहसास होना चाहिए. You know INS Arihant, right? Yeah, it is India's nuclear submarine. So उसको पता है वो दोस्त मुल्क है. It's a friendly country, but the friendly country knows that behind in the ocean somewhere there is INS Arihant. The Prime Minister of India may come with only 5-7 people, and of course there'll be 100 other people with him in that meeting, but this is also part of military diplomacy. So I would like to quote, you must have all heard about Sam, Dam, Dand and Ved. हम लोग बचपन से सुनते आ रहे हैं, and this is part of Arthashastra where he says Sam is by way of convincing. So आप समझाएंगे उनको ना, so आप उनको समझाते हैं. So when you convince somebody, Sam. Dam is by way of economic benefit. आपने बांग्लादेश को समझा दिया, Sam. Dam, श्रीलंका को पैसा दे दिया, ठीक है, पाकिस्तान दंड. And Bhed is by way of deception. Intelligence services. Take a flight, go to Qatar. So, ये सब जो पूरा system है, now we are using all 4 elements of the state to have a diplomatic presence in the rest of the world. This is what is actually happening, and it's happening with a lot of force. आपने वो video देखा बड़ी recently, बड़ा viral हुआ था, where the Chinese foreign minister walked down to meet Dr. Jaishankar. आपने देखा होगा कुछ लोगों ने. Wang Yi, the Chinese foreign minister, he actually walked down to meet Dr. Jaishankar and shake his hand. क्योंकि line of actual control पे इतना मजबूर कर दिया है, इतना ज़्यादा मजबूर कर दिया है चाइना को line of actual control पे, माफ कीजिएगा. It's becoming difficult now for the Chinese. It's becoming very difficult. So that is what is happening.
So actually, excellent. That's a wonderful explanation, of course, of the India becoming by itself a superpower, and of course, polarizing the world, other countries of the world towards India, so becoming a power. And of course, as you said, the next question arises out of that is that Dr. Jaishankar is of course an excellent foreign minister, but Indian relations, as far as all the borders are concerned, for say it Nepal, or it's be Pakistan, or it be Bhutan now, of course, or Bangladesh, or Sri Lanka, of course, Tibet. So all these border countries of India are, as of now, seems to us, are probably more inclined towards China. And if not inclined, of course, the China has got a very big presence there. And so how do you perceive that as a problem to us or a risk to us? And how does the governmental thinking goes about it?
So there are 2-3 things. आपने जितने भी देशों का नाम लिया, what is the common thing between all these countries? All of them are small countries.
Poor countries.
All of them have a corrupt elite, and all of them are politically unstable, except for Bhutan. Sir.
And of course, poor also, of course.
Poor countries. These are the countries that China will target. Africa में देखिए China क्या कर रहा है?
हाँ, बुरी हालत है.
So, China will target a country that is small. Like for example, today it was there in the newspaper, and I'm going to try and cover it tomorrow for the Chanakya dialogues. Muizu actually lied to people. Mohammad Muizu, the president of Maldives, he actually lied to people, and he said there are thousands upon thousands of troops, Indian troops in Maldives. There are actually only 78. But he said there are thousands upon thousands, and people. Acha, Maldives heavy cannot place jitna. Pata nahi why these people got confused. It's this much. And it's all islands. It's not like you can hide thousands of Indian troops, because thousands of Indian troops would mean many cantonments. And he just told the people, and they believed him. And so essentially क्या होता है? Corrupt elite. आपने श्रीलंका में देखा corrupt elite. KP Sharma Oli in this space. You have this problem everywhere where China says bite-sized. छोटा सा बिस्किट जिसको काटने की जरूरत नहीं, एक बार मुंह में डाल के निकल लो. This is the classical theory that China follows, the wolf warrior diplomacy. Target countries that are small, that are unstable, countries that have less amount of money, countries that have political instability, countries that are corrupt, and then give them money and try. You know, they have actually taken an island in Maldives on a 50-year lease, and that is right outside the Malé airport, you know, just 1 kilometer off. They have taken an island for 50 years on a lease because Maldives could not afford to pay back $4 million. So Abhishek, that's a business idea for you. $4 million, like 35 crore. You should buy an island somewhere in Maldives and all that. So that's it. That's how it is. And that's how China does it. Give money to Pakistan, knowing fully well Pakistan cannot pay back that money. They know Pakistan cannot pay back that money. They don't want that money back. उनको पाकिस्तान से पैसा नहीं चाहिए. उनको पाकिस्तान चाहिए. And they'll keep on giving money to Pakistan, keep on giving money to Pakistan, till such a level that Pakistan finally says that, ji, airport le lo, sadkein le lo. F11 is in Islamabad, it's called F11, Foxtrot 11. It's a very large park in which children come and the elderly go for walks and runs and jogs and youngsters play cricket. And उन्होंने F11 China को बेच दिया. A public park. They don't have money, so they keep on mortgaging stuff to China, and they can, so यही चल रहा है.
But no risks as far as, because all the borders are, but as you say, they are poor countries. Prima facie, there is no risks as far as India is concerned. Or
there is risk, sir. There is risk, because the risk is that China will use land in these countries to spy on India, to interfere in India. There is always risk. Okay. Anybody who says there is no risk is wrong, but we will have to figure out a way to mitigate the risk. But yes, there is a risk. If China is there in Nepal, it's a risk. If China is in Bhutan, it's a risk. If it's in Bangladesh, it's a risk. If it's in Sri Lanka, it's a risk. But we've had small victories. For example, a pro-Indian prime minister is now in Bangladesh, has been in Bangladesh in the past also. The Sri Lankans refused the Chinese ship. They said, you cannot dock in Sri Lanka, right? Bhutan has again started talking back to China. So it is not that China is winning all the matches. It is 50-50 right now.
Okay.
It is 50-50 right now.
Okay.
One thing more that I'd like to tell the people here, agar aapne, because very little is known about China, and I don't know why we don't use this. And I have said it at some very high forums also. China is, you know what is China's real fear? What is China really afraid of? China is afraid of the Chinese people. चाइना का सबसे बड़ा डर चाइना के लोग हैं। चाइना इंडियन आर्मी से नहीं डरती, चाइना अमेरिकन नेवी से नहीं डरती, चाइना डरती है चाइना को डर लगता है ट्विटर से, चाइना को डर लगता है फेसबुक से, यूट्यूब से, इंस्टाग्राम से। दिस इज व्हाट रियली स्केयर्स चाइना, ऑफ पीपल हैविंग एन ओपिनियन ऑफ देयर ओन। एंड आई थिंक दिस इज, आपने चाइना का नाम लिया, तो एक तो चाइना काम कर रहा है हमारे खिलाफ। What we should do is we should use these platforms.
Okay.
This is why China has created its own social media.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because all the servers of Instagram are in the USA.
Yes.
They are not in China. How do you control? So they said खुद ही का बना लेते हैं, उन्होंने वही चोरी करके बना लिया. They gave it some funny name, and now it's a Chinese platform. But I don't know if you've flown directly into Beijing, but if you go through Hong Kong, it's very interesting. So you fly into the Hong Kong airport, and let's say you're going to Guangzhou. So you go to immigration. China immigration there at the border, and suddenly after 1 kilometer, your Twitter stops working, and everything blip, 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 everything goes, and then in Chinese it'll come some message, welcome to China, and that's it, end of story. So unless you have a Chinese SIM card, which you can use obviously, but तो ये है.
Of course. Now coming to Pakistan, which is a failed state. So we were discussing yesterday that जैसे आशीष चौहान जी से बात हो रही थी कि कई बार क्या होता है व्हेन देयर इज अ फेल स्टेट, सो एंड में कभी कभी क्या होता है कि ऑन हैविंग अ न्यूक्लियर वेपनरी आल्सो, सो विद द टाइम एंड द वे दे आर गोइंग डाउन, व्हाट डू यू सी? ऑफ कोर्स दे कांट रिएक्ट, दे कांट फाइट इंडिया, बट कैन दे यूज सम सॉर्ट ऑफ आर्सेनल्स, जैसे मरता कर क्या ना करता टाइप की चीज़ें अगेंस्ट इंडिया? Or for example, because they are fighting Balochistan and everywhere, but vis-a-vis India, do you think that as a failed state they can react toward India, and as the last they get money from all of the countries just because of this?
There is an article that I wrote some time back, sir, and you can just type in Google, go to Major Gaurav Arya, the Viru Effect, and that is the answer to your question.
Okay, great.
Have you seen Sholay? Okay. वो वीरू टावर के ऊपर चढ़ता है, शराब पी के, और मौसी से बोलता है कि शादी नहीं करी तो मैं कूद जाऊंगा. दैट इज पाकिस्तान. सो पाकिस्तान, नो, आई हैव रिटन एन आर्टिकल अबाउट दिस. इट्स कॉल्ड द वीरू इफेक्ट. पाकिस्तान बिहेव्स एग्जैक्टली लाइक वीरू, दैट इफ यू डोंट डू व्हाट आई से, आई विल जंप ऑफ. अब ये लोग क्या करते हैं मैं आपको बताता हूँ. ये ऐसे कोई हथियार वथियार यूज नहीं करेंगे, एंड आई एम नॉट वेरी कन्विंस कि इनके चलते भी होंगे. लेकिन what the Pakistanis do very well is they have managed to convince the West, and here is a problem, and it's a very big problem. They have managed to convince the West that if we are unstable, our nuclear weapons will fall in the hands of the Taliban or the Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State or XYZ terror factory. They will take care of our nuclear weapons, and then they say no, they are in very good control, but you have to keep on funding us so that we control our weapons. Now here is the issue. You know, there was when Pervez Musharraf was in power, there was an assassination attempt on Pervez Musharraf. There was a bridge, and वो bridge पार करके घर जाते थे, and there were people wanting to blow up the bridge and kill Pervez Musharraf. He was the army chief at that point in time. So essentially what happened was that Pervez Musharraf, they tried to kill him, and you know who was the one who tried to kill him? There were 5 people from the Pakistan Air Force. There were 5 people from the Pakistan Air Force who tried to kill their own army chief and president at that point in time. When we talk about Pakistani nuclear weapons falling into the hands of the Taliban or the Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State, let me also tell you that Taliban and Al-Qaeda, they're essentially a mindset. These are not terror groups. This is a mindset issue. And that mindset exists inside the armed forces of Pakistan. Am I making sense? They don't have to fall in the hands of Al-Qaeda. They are already in the hands of Al-Qaeda. Because Al-Qaeda is a mindset issue. Al-Qaeda is not a shop with a neon sign, no, welcome to the office of Al-Qaeda. It's not like that. It's a mindset issue. And it's already there in the hands of people who have the, you know the motto of the Pakistan Army? Okay. So earlier when Pakistan was created, the motto of the Pakistani Army was unity, faith and discipline. Unity, faith and discipline. Now the motto of the Pakistani Army is Iman Taqwa Jihad Fi Sabilillah. essentially the avowed aim of the Pakistan army is to fight jihad against India. It is their official motto. You can look it up on their website. I mean, I'm not making this up. Our website pe jaake dekh lijiye. It's Iman Taqwa Jihad Fi Sabilillah. That, so you are going to war against a rogue army. An army that does not follow the rules based. There is no honor in their fighting. Right? And they have created these terror groups. They have created all these terror groups because of one thing only. One reason. Have you heard of the Fauji Foundation? Some of you may have. Fauji Foundation is a group of Pakistani companies. And do you know the net worth of Fauji Foundation? It is in excess of 100 billion US dollars. 100 अरब डॉलर की है फौजी फाउंडेशन. कई साल पहले, 2-2.5 decades पहले, it used to be $25 billion. You must read Aisha Siddiqa's book, Military Inc. Aisha Siddiqa, she's a Pakistani scholar, writes extremely well, and she wrote a book on Pakistan's military economy. After that book was published, she could not enter Pakistan. She lives in London. But today, Fauji Foundation has a business, you know, that their entire business, the net worth, is more than 100 billion US dollars. So you are looking at an entity. You're looking at an entity that fights, that promotes terrorism, that promotes jihad, that fixes elections, that does business, and they're very successful businessmen. They are more successful businessmen than they are soldiers. And they've made lots of money. They do land grab, they fix the stock markets, they refine oil, they do real estate, they do big time construction contracts, and they also deal in animal skins, and they manufacture baby diapers also. Yes. So mineral water, baby diapers, cornflakes, ये सब बनाते हैं Fauji Foundation, and it's a $100 billion enterprise. It's pretty massive.
Now, of course, देश में आ जाते हैं. Coming back to India, Northeast is one region जो एक देश का हिस्सा है जहाँ काफ़ी समय से कुछ न कुछ कन्फ्लिक्ट होती जा रही है, वायलेंस भी हो सकता है चाइना प्रमोटेड हो सकता है, रिलीजन हो या म्यांमार हो या, और उसके बारे में ना तो मीडिया को ज़्यादा बोलता है ना गवर्नमेंट बोलता है. तो व्हाट इज़ हैपनिंग एज सच, लोगों को ये नहीं पता कि नॉर्थ ईस्ट में जो रेगुलर कन्फ्लिक्ट्स हो रही हैं तो उसके पीछे क्या है. what is the reason behind all those conflicts, and why is generally the public or the government agencies very silent about it?
Sir, government agencies are silent about everything. They don't talk. मीडिया को इंटरेस्ट नहीं है. हम लोग कभी कभी मीडिया से बहुत ज़्यादा उम्मीद रख लेते हैं कि ऐसा होना चाहिए वैसा होना चाहिए. अब वो मीडिया हाउस का जो मालिक है, he also, I mean, many of them follow the true path of journalism and they try to do their best. But all of them have to give salary on the first night to their employees. अब पैसा आएगा कहाँ से? पहली तारीख को तनख्वाह देना ये तो एक सच्चाई है. पहले को नहीं देगा, 7 को देगा, महीने में एक बार तो तनख्वाह देगा वो. Where does that money come from? That money comes from ads. And who gives the ads? If tomorrow you start criticizing, let us say, some agency, and that agency has an advertisement budget of 2,000 crores, do you think you will get those 2,000 crores? So that is one thing. Second thing is that Northeast has been neglected for a very, very long time. बहुत समय से, आज की बात नहीं है. And like Kashmir, and I'm making this statement publicly, like Kashmir, Northeast is also initially New Delhi's fault. ये गलती हमारी है नॉर्थ ईस्ट में. कश्मीर में भी गलती, बाद में पाकिस्तान ने फायदा उठाया, पाकिस्तान ने टेररिज्म करी, चाइना ने वहां पे फायदा उठाया, टेररिज्म करी, इतने ग्रुप्स बनाए, ये सब ठीक है. यू गॉट टू टॉक टू पीपल. यू सी, इसको बोल के इसको मार देंगे, दीज थिंग्स डोंट सॉल्व एनीथिंग. इन द एंड यू हैव टू टॉक टू पीपल. वो कैरेट एंड स्टिक अप्रोच आपको करना पड़ेगा. जो बैड एलिमेंट्स हैं उनको एलिमिनेट करके गुड एलिमेंट्स को आपको बात करनी पड़ेगी. यू हैव टू मेन स्ट्रीम, बिकॉज इन अ सोसाइटी ऐसा नहीं होता कि सभी अच्छे हैं सभी खराब हैं. हर जगह मिक्स एंड मैच किस्म के लोग होते हैं. In every religion, in every ethnicity, every tribe, every caste, you will find good people, you will find bad people. So engage with the good people, eliminate the bad people. So what I'm saying is engage with good people, eliminate the bad. Our thing about the Northeast was ignore everybody. We did not make roads in the Northeast for more than 60-65 years. हमने सड़कें नहीं बनाई. Logic क्या था कि चाइना जब इन्वेड करेगा तो चाइना के इन्वेड करते वक्त if the roads are bad then China will not invade. I swear. सड़कें खराब होंगी तो कैसे आएगा नीचे तक? आ ही नहीं पाएगा, सड़कें खराब है. चाइना को हम स्टॉल कर देंगे, बट ऐसे होता नहीं है. Today the thinking has changed. Today we are making roads. Today we are not saying कि चाइना नीचे तक आ जाएगा. आज ये हम सोचते हैं कि हम लेह से दौलत बेग ओल्डी कितनी जल्दी पहुंच सकते हैं. The entire mindset has changed and we have become far more aggressive. We are not saying China will come to Leh. We are saying we will go to Daulat Beg Oldi. How far can we go? जहाँ पे हफ्ते लगते थे, पैदल चलना पड़ता था, आज की तारीख में 5 घंटे में आप comfortably पहुंच जाते हैं. There has been a change in the mindset. Now about Northeast especially, sir. Northeast जो है ना typically क्या है कि Northeast has been unstable for 1,000 years. मीडिया का जमाना है तो हमें पता लग जाता है. Tribes have been fighting against tribes forever and ever in the Northeast. Even the conflicts that you see between Methi and Kuki and all that you read in the newspapers, ये आज की conflict है. या even among tribes, amongst the Nagas, ये आज की conflict है. ये तो कब से चली जा रही है. There is a tribe of Nagas called the Konyaks, and I have got some Konyak friends. So I am the only non-Konyak who can make Konyak jokes and still keep my head. The reason why I am saying still keep my head because Konyaks were headhunters. And जब एक Konyak लड़के की शादी होती थी तो लड़की वाले ये चेक करते थे कि उसके घर के आगे कितने दुश्मनों के सर लटके हुए हैं, तो ये दामाद बनने के लायक है. वो किसके सर काट रहे थे? 300-400 years back. Whose heads were they cutting? So this warfare has continued. It was like the rest of India. The rest of India में same thing was happening. Northeast क्योंकि थोड़ा सा isolated है. Isolated क्या है? The geographical expanse of Northeast is too much.
Yeah.
And the population is very little. Yeah. So you can walk for 3-4 days in the jungle and not encounter one single human being. That is true for the Northeast. So it was always isolated, but now it's coming into the mainstream. And that is what, sir. Talk to the people. That is the only solution. इसमें कोई military solution नहीं है. ना नॉर्थ ईस्ट में, ना कश्मीर में, ना कहीं. अब कश्मीर शांत हुआ 370-35 से हटाने के बाद. 370-35 से हट गया, कश्मीर शांत हो गया. कश्मीर 30 years of military operation से contained था, शांत नहीं था, contained था. शांत कब हुआ? Because you removed that thorn in the side. Now it's healing. It will take 10 more years to heal. But it will heal. You need healing for the Northeast also. Dialogue, sir. That is the only way forward, sir. Engage with the people. लोग अकलमंद हैं, लोग समझते हैं. If you talk to people, people are smart. Don't talk at people. Talk to people. Talk nicely, and they will respond. And people from Northeast, sir, I've grown up in the Northeast.
So is it an internal problem or external influence as well?
External influence तो होगा ही सर, बिल्कुल होगा. घर में दो भाई लड़ते हैं तो बाहर वाला फायदा उठाता है, बाहर वाले की गलती थोड़ा है. एक्सटर्नल इन्फ्लुएंस है. चाइना पैसे दे. आज की तारीख में परेश बरुआ कहाँ है? परेश बरुआ इज द हेड ऑफ उल्फा. ही क्रिएटेड उल्फा with a lot of other people. Raj Khova and other people were there. Paresh Barua is the founding father of Ulfa. Paresh Barua is in China today. He's being kept by Chinese intelligence. So, ये होता है sir. This is there. Of course, outside influence. But let me tell you, outside influence, Rajasthan is a border state, right? Gujarat is a border state. उधर तो नहीं हुआ outside influence का कुछ. There are a lot of factors. हम लोग सोचते हैं ना कि factors सिर्फ religion को लेकर है या इसको नहीं. It could be one of the factors, but it is not everything. There are so many socio-economic and political factors which go into unsettling an area, and we don't look at it, we don't solve the problem in time, then it becomes a bigger problem and a bigger problem and a bigger problem, and then somebody says, hey, here is an opening for us, yeah, let's get involved. कौन कर रहा है ये? कौन है? परेश बरुआ. उसको बोलो क्या चाहिए. परेश बरुआ कहता है I need $10 million. ये लो $10 million. अब तुम ये काम करो. So suddenly the largest terror enterprise in Assam starts working for the Chinese. That is how you give opening to your adversaries, by creating a problem yourself. Northeast, isolation of Northeast is created by New Delhi. Isolation of Northeast is not created by China. China took advantage. There is a recent book by one Mr. Bhattacharjee. I'm going to read that book. I've not had the opportunity. Excerpts were posted in the media, and you know what he said? You know where the cadre of Ulfa was trained? You'll be very surprised. The top cadre of Ulfa was trained in Peshawar, Pakistan. Ulfa, Assam mein. They were trained in Kandahar. Why Kandahar? Kandahar is the birthplace of the Taliban. Kandahar was where the Taliban took birth. Taliban पैदाइश Kandahar की है. So you will never imagine Assam, the jungles of the Northeast, connecting to something that is in the extreme west, as far as they are concerned, thousands of kilometers away, and they are getting trained there. Pakistan takes advantage, and how? China could have trained them. China gave money to Pakistan, you trained them. हम नहीं कुछ करेंगे. We want deniability. कल अगर कोई इंडिया यूएन ले जाए कि चाइना तुमने बदमाशी करी थी, हम बोलेंगे हमें पता ही नहीं है कौन उल्फा, हम तो जानते ही नहीं, पाकिस्तानियों से बात करो. And that is what China did, and Pakistan trained Ulfa. They trained them in propaganda, they trained them in making improvised explosive devices, selected assassinations, they trained them in every single thing, how to fight with the Indian Army and security forces in Assam. That is what they did.
You talked about Kashmir. Flowing from there, Kashmir, of course, everybody's favorite destination, the heaven on earth. But 370 abolished, fine, peace. But do you think it's still peaceful? Because जिस तरह से वहाँ आज भी टेररिज्म हो रही है या मिलिट्री के ऊपर अक्सर प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, या अगर आप कश्मीर जाइए तो ठीक है, टूरिज्म हैज़ वी बीन देयर इंक्रीज, बट जिस तरह से आर्म फोर्सेस आज भी मेरे ख्याल से जितना डिप्लॉयमेंट आर्म फोर्सेस का 370 से पहले था, उससे कम डिप्लॉयमेंट आज भी नहीं होगा आर्म फोर्सेस का. और रिस्क जो है, या इवन जो असैसिनेशन टेररिज्म चल रही है, या आर्मी के जो हाल में ऑफ कोर्स द लास्ट फ्यू ईयर्स जो जिस तरह से एक टेररिस्ट कर रहे हैं, या तो उनकी वो तो ना मरता क्या ना करता वाली बैटल आ रही है, ये स्थिति आ रही है, बट कश्मीर अभी भी उस तरह से पीसफुल नज़र नहीं आता. मतलब why do we have that feeling?
It will take time, sir. जैसा मैंने बोला 10 साल लगेंगे. 10 साल से पहले नहीं होने वाला, ठीक. और अगर आप वायलेंस देखें ना, जो वायलेंस होता है, अब वो ठीक है, वो टेररिस्ट कर रहे हैं. बंगाल में आपको ज़्यादा वायलेंस दिखेगा कश्मीर से, बट nobody talks about it. Because Kashmir has a border with Pakistan, people talk about it, that's it. Terrorism पहले से बहुत कम हो गया है. Now, you know why terror attacks are less? Because public support for terrorism has gone down. जिसको हम हिंदी में अलगाववाद कहते हैं, secessionist activities, that has come down, and that is the key. You see, all these programs are being launched in Kashmir, and the Indian Army, sir, does something called Sadbhavna. I don't know if you've heard about it. Earlier it was called Operation Sadbhavna. Now it's just called Sadbhavna. Indian Army runs schools. It runs schools. It runs more than 35 schools in Kashmir, Jammu and Kashmir. They are called Army Goodwill Schools, right? And a lot of Kashmiris have joined the army as officers after studying in Goodwill Schools, right? And you must have all heard of Super 30.
Yes.
You know what Super 30 is, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You know the army runs Super 30 in Kashmir.
Okay.
The Indian Army trains Kashmiri kids to join IIT.
That's great.
And the army runs medical camps, and the army does so much work in Kashmir. And this is a connect with the Awam of Kashmir. So then you start building up a relationship with your army. And the whole idea is to tell the people that we are your army. Right? There are many things that I disagree with in Sadbhavna. That is my personal opinion. But I'm not here to tell you what I disagree with. And I'm not going to tell you my point of view. All I'm saying is that there is a Sadbhavna in place. I don't want the army to do Sadbhavna. Because, मैं आपको बताता हूँ क्या. Actually क्या होता है कि अंग्रेजी में कहावत है कि familiarity breeds contempt. आपने देखा कि फौज पे पत्थरबाजी आपने सुनी थी कुछ समय पहले ना? ये क्यों होती है फौज पे पत्थरबाजी? हमारे टाइम पे तो कभी नहीं हुई पत्थरबाजी. ये पत्थरबाजी का कॉन्सेप्ट कश्मीर में आया कहाँ से? ये आया फिलिस्तीन से. This is a Palestinian concept, intifada. throwing of rocks, throwing of Molotov cocktails. You know Molotov cocktails, right? So you put fuel and this thing and stuff in a bottle and then you throw it and it bursts and everything burns. That is a Molotov cocktail. This all came from Palestine. And I'm sure that the army has thought this through. This is my personal opinion and not necessarily a correct opinion. Right? The thing with the army is that the army does everything very well. It's a structured force. So school चलाएंगे, बेहतरीन स्कूल चलाएंगे, अस्पताल चलाएंगे, बहुत अच्छा चलाएंगे, उनको बोल दो होटल चलाओ, वो भी अच्छा कर. Excellence becomes a habit in the army. वो हर चीज, 8 o'clock means 7:55, फौजी दिमाग. 8 बजे बोला है तो 7:55 पे सब लोग वहां पे हो जाएंगे. That is how you're trained. So they tend to do everything with a great deal of excellence. The problem here is this, that जैसे बचपन में जब मैं छोटा था तो मेरी बहन और मैं हम लोग बदमाशी करते थे, तो हमारी मदर हमको बोलती थी कि शाम को पापा घर आएंगे तो फिर उनसे शिकायत करूंगी तुम लोगों ने बदमाशी की. तो वी वर वेरी स्केयर्ड दैट 6 बजे पापा आएंगे, देन डांट वांट पड़ेगी एटसेट्रा. अगर पापा की डांट का डर खत्म हो जाए ना, फिर बच्चे मां के हाथ नहीं लगेंगे. यहां पे बाप इंडियन आर्मी है. अगर वही ऑफिसर को आप स्कूल में देखेंगे या वही ऑफिसर को आप एक कैंप में देखेंगे और रात को वही ऑफिसर ऑपरेशन करेगा, तब तक फेमिलियरिटी हो जाएगी. ये मेरी थिंकिंग है और मैं फिर कह रहा हूं कि माय थिंकिंग कुड बी एब्सोल्युटली रॉन्ग. आई एम विलिंग टू टेक दैट, बट इट्स माय थिंकिंग दैट अदर फोर्सेस शुड डू. सीआरपीएफ शुड डू. सीआरपीएफ करती है मददगार करके, बहुत अच्छा प्रोग्राम करती है. JNK police should do, the local administration should do, army should only do kinetic operations in the valley. That is what I feel. Main aim फौज का क्या है? Main aim फौज का है, हमने कश्मीर की बात करी सर. Main aim आर्मी का है कन्वेंशनल वॉर लड़ना, लड़ाई लड़ना. ये कुपवाड़ा में 3 मार दिए, हंडवाड़ा में 5 मार दिए. This should slowly and slowly capability development होना चाहिए और forces का कि they can take this on, because over a period of time any army which over long sustained periods get involved in counterinsurgency, और या हम इनको low intensity conflict भी बोलते हैं. low intensity conflict यानी कि LICO, और coin operations कहते हैं, COIN coin, counterinsurgency operations. जब आप बहुत देर तक इसमें पड़ जाते हैं तो आपका edge blunt हो जाता है, because it is same thing again and again and again and again. Cordon and search है, search and destroy operations है, ये सद्भावना, वो स्कूल, ये दिस ब्लंट्स द एज. अब आप तलवार से सब्जी काटेंगे ना, तो फिर काट देगा सब्जी, तलवार सब्जी काट लेती है, बट तलवार का वो रोल नहीं है. दैट्स ऑल आई एम सेइंग. काउंटर इंसर्जेंसी ऑपरेशंस, यस, बट दीज काइंड ऑफ सॉफ्ट थिंग्स मे बी नो, बट दैट इज माय पर्सनल व्यू, एंड अगेन आई एम सेइंग आई कुड बी रॉन्ग अबाउट दिस.
Excellent. I think, of course, that was what we had in mind as far as questions are concerned. If immediately from the floor, of course, if time permits. Yeah, Balochistan. We are thinking of that. If Balochistan or POK can come in our fold.
Sir, मैं आपको बताता हूँ. I keep on talking to people who are from there.
They all want.
And हमारा ये कॉन्सेप्ट है, POK हमारे पास आएगा. हमारा ये कॉन्सेप्ट है कि इंडियन आर्मी जाएगी और इंडियन आर्मी POK लेके हमें बोलेगी कि जी अब मुजफ्फराबाद में तिरंगा लहरा रहा है, आओ. What is happening is something which is opposite. Today, people from POK and Gilgit-Baltistan are saying कि अंदर आओ और तिरंगा लहराओ. उसका रीजन है, because the government has put in so much of money in Kashmir. They have put in so much of funds in Kashmir that जो लाइन ऑफ कंट्रोल के पार वाला है, he can very clearly, वहां से दिखता है ना, you can see, एक तरफ अंधेरा, एक तरफ रात के 3 बजे पूरा जगमग, पूरा पहाड़ जगमगा रहा है. You see all these things in front of you. You see roads getting made. You see ambulances going and taking away the sick people. You see all of this stuff. You see solar panels on the roof. And then people talk and people say that they call up their relatives. इनके WhatsApp पे बातें होती हैं बड़ी लंबी लंबी. And they say कि आपके यहाँ बिजली क्या रेट पे मिलती है per unit. So ये लोग कहते हैं 3.5 रुपए, वो लोग कहते हैं 45 रुपए. So they feel bad. यार 45 रुपए. अच्छा, they feel bad also because they are the people who are generating electricity for Pakistan. वो 4 रुपए में बनाते हैं. ये देखिए दिमाग देखिए पाकिस्तानियों का. So this so-called Azad Kashmir, which is actually POK में बिजली बनाते हैं ये लोग, right? 4-5 रुपए की बिजली बनाते हैं पर यूनिट. ये बिजली लाहौर जाती है, इस्लामाबाद जाती है, और जब तक घूम के वापस आती है POK, ये बिजली हो जाती है 45 रुपए यूनिट की. एंड दे से यार ये तो चोरी है. मुझसे कहा उसने चोरी है, मैंने बोला डाका है, चोरी नहीं है. दिस इज ग्रैंड थेफ्ट, सो दिस डकॉइटी, रॉबरी. As far as Balochistan is concerned, sir, Balochistan, one thing I'd like to tell you that Baloch are a minority in Balochistan. The majority is Pashtun. And Balochistan is not just in Pakistan. When you're talking about independence of Balochistan, you're talking about independence of Balochistan from Afghanistan, from Iran, and from Pakistan. Yes. Balochistan is spread over 3 countries. So it's a slightly complicated issue. It's not about Pakistan alone. Because a truncated Balochistan is not acceptable to the people of Balochistan. They're saying, sir, Balochistan to pura Balochistan hai. Aadha kyun hoga? That is what the story is.
Any other? Yes.
इम्पैक्ट कुछ नहीं है सर. उसका कोई, देखिए, वो एडिशनल पानी जा रहा था. हमने कोई पानी बंद नहीं करा, हमने बस उनको फालतू पानी देना बंद कर दिया. वी हैव नॉट वायलेटेड द इंडस वाटर ट्रीटी और एनी अदर ट्रीटी सर. वो उनका प्रॉब्लम है सर. उनका, देखिए, जब आप उनको पानी देते हैं वो कहते हैं बाढ़ आ गई, जब आप पानी नहीं करते वो कहते हैं सूखा आ गया. दे विल कंप्लेन.
Have and have nots.
आप उनको पानी की जगह ऑरेंज जूस दे दो, उनको फिर भी पसंद है, वो दे विल कीप ऑन क्राइंग. लेट देम बी. अब अच्छा, द बेस्ट पार्ट आई लाइक अबाउट द गवर्नमेंट इज, इन्होंने बात भी नहीं करी पाकिस्तान से कि जी हम कल से बंद कर रहे हैं. उन्होंने बंद कर दिया, फिर बोला जी हो गया ये. सो दे आर स्टिल इन अ स्टेट ऑफ शॉक कि पानी कोई कैसे बंद कर सकता है. कर दिया उन्होंने, बंद कर दिया.
As today also the entire Palestinian government has resigned. I think the Palestine may be run a resignation of the entire government because I don't know what's happening, of course.
नहीं वो सर, वो प्रेशर आ रहा है. एक्चुअली क्या हुआ कि जो पैलेस्टीन का गवर्नमेंट का था, the prime minister has resigned and then other people also resigned.
Yeah, resigned. Yeah.
इसका कर्ता धर्ता ईरान है. एक्चुअली इसका कर्ता धर्ता पैलेस्टीन नहीं है. ईरान ने एस्टिमेट नहीं करा था कि ये बात इतनी हाथ से निकल जाएगी. They assumed that it will be a contained conflict like Russia Ukraine. 2 साल से लड़ रहे हैं, फैली नहीं है, that's all right. ऐसा ही होगा, कुछ लोग मरेंगे, कुछ होगा, but we would have passed a message. ये बहुत जगह फैल गई. इसमें लेबनान बीच में आ गया, इसमें यमन बीच में आ गया, इसमें सीरिया आ गया. वहाँ पे one fine morning Iran drops a bomb on Pakistan, some missiles and drones and all. So this is just spreading all over, and you don't know when it's going to stop or where it is going to stop. And I think that is the basic. No, Iran is very seriously worried because ये जिन बोतल से निकल गया, now nobody can put it back. So that is where the problem lies.
Yeah, please.
जी मेरा नहीं सर. देखिए, it has, I don't think it has everything to do with the gas pipeline. It has the people in power. अभी भी ब्यूरोक्रेसी में हम लोग कहते हैं ना डिजिटल इंडिया, and everybody is on mobile phone and apps and all that. But the people who take the decision in any country, they still want to see a piece of paper. उनको कंफर्ट उस कागज से आता है. और लोग कहते हैं यहाँ पे सीएस कितने लोग कहते हैं कागज पूरे होने चाहिए. जब ऑडिट होगा ना, यू शुड बी प्रिपेयर्ड.
Documentation should be complete.
Documentation. So everybody is preparing for the day the audit will happen. Now, जो हम बात करते हैं पाइपलाइन की, यू टॉक अबाउट अदर इश्यूज. Essentially मैंने क्यों ये एग्जाम्पल दिया? These are legacy issues in the mind of a lot of people in Washington and even Russia. They are still in that Cold War mindset. And Russia was wrong in invading Ukraine, of course, but there was nothing that Russia could have done. Russia कुछ कर नहीं सकता था. जब आप अगर यूक्रेन नेटो ज्वाइन कर लेता, तो रशिया के वेस्टर्न बॉर्डर्स पे नेटो आ जाता. And this would have been against the agreement that USSR had with NATO, that you will not expand towards Russia. इनकी डील थी. नेटो ने वायलेट करी ट्रीटी, पुतिन वेट कर रहा था, इसको पता था कि वायलेट करेंगे, और उसने बोला ठीक है नाउ, एंड दे हैव अगेन पुट सैंक्शंस ऑन हिम एंड इट्स नॉट बॉदरिंग हिम वेरी मच.
Just 2 days back here.
हाँ सर, दे आर फ्लोटिंग इन ऑयल. रशिया के पास इतना तेल है कि 50 साल तक वो लोग निकाल लेंगे. जमीन बहुत ज्यादा है, लोग बहुत कम हैं, देयर आर लेसर माउथ्स टू फीड, एंड रशिया कैन मेंटेन दिस लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एवर. आई मीन अगले 50, ये कब तक करेंगे? यू कांट. प्लस दे हैव चाइनीज सपोर्ट. वन मोर थिंग आई विल टेल यू, वेरी फनी. यू नो इंडिया बॉट अ लॉट ऑफ ऑयल फ्रॉम रशिया, सो एवरीबडी इज अपसेट कि तुम लोग तेल क्यों खरीद रहे हो, अंदर सैंक्शन वैंक्शन कर रखे हैं. अच्छा, इंडिया खरीदता गया, then one day the Americans realized that they are buying more oil than they need. Why are the Indians buying so much of oil? फिर इंडिया ने उसको रिफाइन करके यूरोप को बेचा, और यूरोप को बेचते बेचते इन 2023 इंडिया बिकेम द हाईएस्ट एक्सपोर्टर ऑफ ऑयल टू यूरोप. एंड देन सऊदी अरेबिया सेड कि तुम्हारे पास तो तेल भी नहीं है, तेल तो हमारे पास है, तुम टॉप एक्सपोर्टर कैसे बन गए? भाइयों ने इतना तेल रिफाइन करके. अच्छा, सो आफ्टर रिफाइनिंग इट इन इंडिया इट लॉस्ट इट्स कैरेक्टरिस्टिक. That chemical composition changed. It was no longer the sanctioned oil of Russia. This became Indian oil. और उन्होंने भर के पूरे यूरोप में बेचा उसको. अच्छा, एक और चीज, तो आई थिंक दिस इज एडवांटेजेस ऑफ हैविंग लीडरशिप फ्रॉम गुजरात. इन्होंने क्या करा भाइयों ने कि दे पेड रशिया, आप सुनिएगा, इट्स वेरी फनी, मैं तो बहुत हंसी आती है इसमें. दे पेड रशिया इन रुपीज, और यूरोप से पूरे यूरो लिए इन लोगों ने. अब रशिया ने बोला कि तुमने हमें $35 अरब दे दिए इंडियन रुपीस में, इसका हमने करना क्या है?
Export.
तो कह रहे हैं कोई बात नहीं, तुम हमसे गाड़ियां खरीदो, फार्म मशीनरी खरीदो, आओ वापस. दिस तमाशा इज हैपनिंग.
जो सन 90s में हुआ करता वास्ट्रो अकाउंट्स, सेम जो पहले आज से 30 साल पहले भी यही हुआ करता था कि
जी.
हम इक्विपमेंट्स खरीदते थे इन रुपीस एंड वास्ट्रो अकाउंट्स के अगेंस्ट पेमेंट्स करते थे.
बिल्कुल
सेम इज हैपनिंग.
बट रशिया वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग समथिंग एल्स. रशिया वांट जी. वो भी सर, मैं आपको बताता हूं ना कि ये भी होगा, एंड आई एम कन्विंस्ड मोर एंड मोर एवरी डे. आप अक्साइचिन की बात करें और ऑक्यूपाइड एरियाज की बात करें, आई एम कन्विंस्ड. देखिए, चाइना के साथ सबसे जो कमजोर कड़ी है चाइना में, एवरीथिंग इन चाइना इज हाईली सेंट्रलाइज्ड. वंस समथिंग हैपेंस टू विच कैन अपसेट दैट सेंट्रल लीडरशिप, फिर उनका वो पूरा हाउस ऑफ कार्ड्स गिर जाता है चाइना का. ये भी आएगा वापस और वो वाला भी आएगा जिसके बारे में आपने पूछी थी. आना तो है दोनों को ना.
डॉक्टर साहब,
my question is that you have a great coverage amongst the youth, and India is known to be a young country now.
जी.
So how at 2047, what would be your strategy if you are given the charge of a ministry like youth minister or something? Then how would you motivate the youth to remain in their mind as country first and serve the country first?
Sir, I don't know 1947 तक if I'll be alive or not, but 2047 if I'll be alive, but my problem with the youth is lack of discipline.
yes, absolutely.
And I may come across as an old fogey who does not understand the aspirations of the youth, but you know, get up in the morning, exercise, have short hair, respect women, respect your elder. I mean, it's not asking for too
Yes,
much. मेहनत
absolutely.
करो,
Yes, absolutely.
और कॉलेज में नेतागिरी मत करो, कॉलेज में पढ़ो, और फिर सवेरे उठ के एक्सरसाइज करो. मतलब as a Fauji, I think that if you get up at 5 o'clock and start running, everything will be sorted out. This is my simple this thing. कि अब a lot of people actually, what happens with a lot of people is that youth is something that needs to be coached properly. It needs to be managed properly. And in many countries like the American youth, ये इतना ज़्यादा उनमें हो गया है thought process, एक अजीब सा अमेरिका में, which I cannot relate to at all.
But sir, again, as you're absolutely right when Dr. Saab is saying that probably जो हम लोग बात करते हैं लीडरशिप की, तो जैसे फौजी हैं, अगर हमारे पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स और ब्यूरोक्रेट भी फौजी हो जाए ना, तो यूथ भी सुधर जाएंगे धीरे धीरे. बिकॉज प्रॉब्लम ये आती है जो फौजी एक ओथ लेता है वो ओथ पे काम करता है, पर पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स या ब्यूरोक्रेट्स या इवन बिजनेसमैन जो ओथ लेते हैं शायद ओथ पे काम नहीं करते. अगर वो सुधर जाएंगे तो ऐसी लीडरशिप प्रोवाइड कर देंगे कि अपने यूथ उसको फॉलो करें. बिकॉज अगर हम फॉलोइंग भी देखें तो अल्टीमेटली देखिए ना आज की तारीख में what we are giving to our youth, so we are not following that which a Fauji should follow.
Sir,
Once we start doing it, probably things will different.
एकेडमी में so, मैं बीमार, एक और बंदा बीमार, तो हम लोग डॉक्टर के पास गए. दिस इज 1993 ऑफिसर्स ट्रेनिंग एकेडमी मद्रास. उस टाइम पे मद्रास होती थी, तो हम लोग गए उसके पास. सो फौज के डॉक्टर भी फौज जैसे ही होते हैं, दे आर नॉट डॉक्टर्स, बाद में होते हैं, दे आर फर्स्ट फौजीज. सो ही सेड सर आई एम हैविंग फीवर. मेरे सामने था वो, मैं उसके पीछे लाइन में खड़ा हुआ, कह रहा सर आई एम हैविंग फीवर. डॉक्टर से ओके कम ऑन साइड, यस 100 पुशअप्स. तो वो लगाने लगा पुशअप्स, तो मुझसे बोला आई सेड सर आई एम एब्सोल्युटली फाइन. तो देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम. मैंने बोला मैं तो इसके साथ आया था सर, ये बेचारा, ही सेड ही हैड फीवर, आर यू ओके? सर कुडंट बी बेटर सर, रेयरिंग टू रन अनदर 10 किलोमीटर्स, आप बताओ क्या करना है.
हाँ,
तो आई वाज एक्चुअली, मैं तो बहाना मार के गया था कि अगर एक दिन का रेस्ट दे देगा, बट वो पकड़ा गया बेचारा. तो मैंने तो उसको, हाँ वो भी ठीक था बिल्कुल. वो भी ठीक था. मुझे लगा कभी होता है ना कि बहती गंगा में हाथ धो देते हैं, उसका बेचारे का एनकाउंटर हो गया. तो बट आई डोंट थिंक सर कि मतलब अ लॉट ऑफ पीपल से ना दैट फौज शुड डू दिस एंड ऑल दैट, तो ठीक हो जाएगा. आई डोंट थिंक दैट इज ट्रू. Army is very good in fighting, and their entire ecosystem is based on the concept of war fighting. उनका entire concept war fighting पे based है. It may not be applicable so much in parts, yes, but if you say that it's 100% applicable to the civilian way of life, no. I don't think so. Yeah. It's simply too harsh. कई बंदे छोड़ के भाग जाएंगे. मतलब for example, in that entire training of the army, there is no concept of mercy, daya, बेचारा थक गया होगा. That is last in their minds. चाबी लगा के भगाते रहो उसको. So that is what they do. I don't know how many people will last. जी, hi. देखिए ऐसा होता है ना कि जो लोग थिंक कर रहे हैं, दे आर ऑल्सो ह्यूमन बींग्स. समटाइम्स यू कैन एंटिसिपेट, समटाइम्स यू कैन नॉट एंटिसिपेट. कभी कभी कर लेते हैं, कभी कभी नहीं भी कर पाते. अब मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल देता हूं. यूएस का डिफेंस बजट 700 बिलियन यूएस डॉलर्स है. 700 बिलियन यूएस डॉलर्स, राइट? वर्ल्ड का सबसे ज्यादा. हो गया 9/11, नहीं एंटिसिपेट कर पाए. दे हैव सैटेलाइट्स इन द स्काई, they have the CIA, they have everything, FBI है, सब कुछ है. बजट की कमी नहीं, पैसे की कमी नहीं, टैलेंट की कमी नहीं, पढ़ाई लिखाई की कमी नहीं, एसेट्स की कमी नहीं. स्पेस से लेकर, अंडर वाटर से लेकर, इंटरनेट से लेकर, आप जो बोलो अमेरिका के पास है. किसी चीज की कमी नहीं. लेकिन नहीं एंटिसिपेट कर पाए, नहीं कर पाए. होता है ऐसा. थिंग्स स्लिप थ्रू, एंड दिस इज वेरी ह्यूमन. हो जाता है.
Hamas also, of course. Israel, Hamas also same thing.
जी?
Hamas also same thing.
Hamas is not slipping through.
No, but Israel didn't expect that, despite everything.
I have spoken to senior Israelis. इजराइल का एंटिसिपेशन अलग था. इजराइल को पता था, पता होने के बाद उन्होंने बोला कि नहीं ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. देयर इज अ डिफरेंस. एक तो आपको पता ही नहीं था.
Okay.
ऐसी बात नहीं कि इजराइल को पता नहीं था. इजराइल को लगा, हमास के मामले में इजराइल को लगा कि हम पैलेस्टीनियंस को नौकरियां दे रहे हैं, पैलेस्टीनियंस को हेल्थ केयर दे रहे हैं, पैलेस्टीनियंस बच्चों को हम स्कूल दे रहे हैं, क्लीन ड्रिंकिंग वाटर दे रहे हैं, फूड दे रहे हैं, ट्रेनिंग दे रहे हैं. ये सब कुछ हम दे रहे हैं उनको, और ये सब देने के बाद मामला नॉर्मल हो जाएगा. उनको बाद में पता लगा कि दे डिडंट वांट दैट.
एक क्वेश्चन जी, एक क्वेश्चन और है सर. जियोपॉलिटिक्स काफ़ी कॉम्प्लेक्स होती है, तो कभी कभी ऐसा होता होगा कि चीज़ें खराब हो रही हैं और वर्स हो रही हैं, लग रहा है और वर्स हो जाएंगी, और सब डार्क है. उस समय आप क्या सोचते हैं?
देखिए पहली बात तो जियोपॉलिटिक्स ना इतनी कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं होती, पर हम लोग उसको कॉम्प्लेक्स बनाते हैं, क्योंकि अगर मैं कॉम्प्लेक्स नहीं बनाऊंगा अब यहाँ पे तो बैठाओगे नहीं मुझे, है ना? अच्छा, बट ऑन अ सीरियस नोट मैं आपको बताता हूँ, समटाइम्स यू हैव टू बी रिएक्टिव. कभी कभी जेन्युइनली नहीं पता चलता. आपने बोला ना कि बड़ी कॉम्प्लेक्स होती है, बट इट्स ऑल अ बैलेंसिंग गेम, राइट? अब मैं आपको बताता हूं, इंडिया की इजराइल से भी बनती है, रशिया से भी बनती है, रशिया की दोनों से नहीं बनती. इंडिया की ईरान से भी बनती है, सऊदी अरेबिया से भी बनती है, दोनों की एक दूसरे से नहीं बनती. इंडिया की ईरान से बनती है और अमेरिका की बनती है, और दोनों 30-40 साल पुराने दुश्मन हैं. अब अच्छा, इंडिया की सबसे बनती है छोड़ के पाकिस्तान. इंडिया की चाइना से भी बनती है. और दिस इज द फनीएस्ट पार्ट, चाइना के साथ 500,000 ट्रूप्स आर ऑन द बॉर्डर, राइट? मरने मारने के लिए तैयार. यहां पे $125 अरब की एनुअल ट्रेड चल रही है. सो देयर आर नो, मैं कई बार कहता हूं कि लोग कहते हैं ना कि ऐसा कैसे हो गया, हमारा दोस्त है उससे कैसे बात कर रहा है, ये तो कंट्री हमारी दोस्त थी, ये पाकिस्तान से क्यों बात कर रहे हैं? फॉरेन अफेयर और लव अफेयर में फर्क होता है बस, ठीक है ना? सो दैट इज हाउ इट हैपेंस. फॉरेन अफेयर्स में यू टॉक टू एवरीबडी, लव अफेयर में यू माइट टॉक टू वन पर्सन. यही है बस.
Excellent, sir. I think that's all. Wonderful. A round of applause.
Thank you.
For him. कहते हैं खुदी को कर बुलंद इतना कि हर तकदीर से पैसे खुदा बंदे से पूछे बता तेरी रजा क्या है. I think that was what was there, and vote of thanks by Mike.
We sincerely thank Major Gaurav Arya for spending time with us and start sharing his thoughts and research. It has been extremely useful learning and enlightenment for us. We do read various news coming in the media and the press, but such an insightful conversation with in-depth knowledge and research is very rare. And it has been a very productive event for us. I'm sure many of us would start following your channel now to keep ourselves braced and updated with the happenings globally and in India. So thank you so much, Major, for enlightening us. I would also like to thank our very own Mr. Rajiv Mehrotra for our extremely skilled moderation today, and our President, Mr. Abhishek Sighania, for arranging such an amazing speaker. Looking forward to many more such amazing sessions. I would also like to thank all of you for taking time out and coming here and attending this event. Thank you so much. And please join us for high tea now. Thank you.